Jai Hind friends, you have seen the fast action of the government, be it triple talaq or Article 370, or you may say Ram Mandir, and something that is still in the box, which have not happened now, but keeping in view the government pace and everything, which is considered impossible. Yes, you guessed it right. It may happen. I am speaking about Uniform Civil Code, and if you are a minority here and feeling scared, that's mean you spend your more time on social media. So, I Megha Singh Rathore give you this video titled Uniform Civil Code, which will be clear your every doubt in this regard, such as the Uniform Civil Code is not a Hindu civil law, which will be extended to minority, what its pros and cons, what the law commission says about it, and if it doesn't come, what's the government alternate plans. So let's see this video in special voice. Let's start.
Jai Hind friends, when I speak of Uniform Civil Code, it means one nation, one law. It is here to note that our country already have a uniform criminal code. Code, it stands for collection of law. It means in India, if you are convicted as per some criminal law, the proceeding will be same for you irrespective of your religion. It doesn't matter what your religion is, whether you are Hindu, Muslim, Christian or Persian. Problem comes when there is some civil litigation. Civil litigation, if I say, it means matters of property, marriage, divorce, inheritance and succession, which have different civil laws for Hindus, where the court has at least a say. But when it comes to Muslim, Christian and Persian, they are governed by separate personal law respectively. At this point, the absence of uniform civil code fails, which means, I will say the Uniform Civil Code means a generic set of governing laws for every citizen without taking into consideration the religion. Then, Supreme Court during a hearing noted and said about property of law of Goans. It said that Goa as a shining example of Uniform Civil Code. Here, we need to know Goa was merged in India in 1961. Before it was under Portuguese occupation, so it follows Portuguese civil laws. After it merged with India, it still follows its old civil laws, which is almost a good example of Uniform Civil Code. As the sons or daughters have 50% share in the property of the parents, and here specifically, if the marriage of Muslim has been registered in Goa or solemnized in Goa, then he cannot give triple talaq. And Supreme Court said that the makers of Constitution hoped and expected a uniform civil code for India, but often after the independence till now, so many governments have come and it was never attempted to have a uniform civil code. Then, question arises, is Uniform Civil Code mentioned in Indian Constitution? Of course, it has been mentioned. Article 44 of the Constitution says, the state shall endeavour to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. If I say Article 44, it means it is covered under directive principle of state policy. So, it is clear that it cannot be challenged in the court if government doesn't do anything in this regard. Then, why India needs a uniform civil code? A secular republic as India needs a common law for all citizens irrespective of their religion or different rule based on their religious practices. Second, gender justice. The rights of women are usually limited under religious laws, be it Hindu or Muslim. The practice of triple talaq is a classic example of it. Okay, I will give you a little detail about that. When it comes, I will give you a classic example of Shah Bano case of 1985. Shah Bano was a 60-year-old lady who had 3 girls and she was divorced by her husband who uttered triple talaq. She moved to the Supreme Court for the maintenance. Supreme Court gave judgment as in her favor. But then Rajiv Gandhi led Congress government brought a special Muslim women personal act and reversed the judgment of the Supreme Court judgment. It was a clear case of minority appeasement. Then the third, that why this UCC is required. Many religious practices disagree with the fundamental rights. Just at the name of religious practices, they are not going to the court. Then courts in repeated judgment have said that the government should bring a uniform civil code. Then, does India have a uniform code in few civil matters? Of course, India laws do follow a uniform code in the most civil matters. First, Indian Contract Act, Civil Procedure Code, Sale of Goods Act, Transfer of Property Act, Partnership Act, Evidence Act, etc. But the states have amended many secular civil laws so many times. Recently, there came this Uniform Motor Vehicle Act in 2019, which was refused by several of the states. Then, what is personal law? Personal law, it covers the matters of property, marriage, divorce, inheritance and succession, as I have already told you. So, these personal laws are mentioned in the concurrent list. If it would have been union list, then it might have been easy to have uniform civil code, but it is there in the concurrent list. That means that the state government and the union government both has a say, though the say of the central government will always prevail, but when state is included here, it makes some obstacles. Then last year the Law Commission concluded that a uniform civil code is neither feasible and nor desirable. So why no UCC at this point? Because the Law Commission report has said that it is not feasible nor desirable. So let's understand, uniformity and secularism should not clash with the cultural diversity in the country. If we are forcing to bring the uniform civil code, that means somewhere it may clash with the cultural and regional diversity of the country, because in this country so many people of so many religion and so many ethnicity and from so many regions which have different religious practices lives. That's why to secure their uniformity, to secure their diversity, this should not be forced upon. Then when I say secularism, it true meaning comes only if it assures the expression of diversity, religious and regional, I have already told you, and it should not be taken over by the louder voice of the majority. At the same time, if I say that, it doesn't mean that I am speaking in favor of no UCC in India at this point of time. I must say I am forcing here, and I am being very much emphatic here, that discriminatory and horrific practices within a religion must end. If I say discriminatory and horrific practices within a religion, I will say here about the triple talaq, which I have already told you the classic example of it, and nikah halala. It means if a divorced Muslim woman wishes to remarry her husband, she has to spend a night with some other male, and how horrific it is, you can understand. So it should not be only giving, means we should not be only giving the and keeping the diversity at the top and just saying no to the UCC because of this. If it doesn't come, this thing must stop. Then, how the Uniform Civil Code relates to fundamental right to religion? Is it there? So, Article 25 lays down an individual. I will just put a circle around the individual. Article 25 lays down an individual's fundamental right to religion, and this individual fundamental right to religion is subjected to public order, health and morality and other provisions relating to fundamental rights. I have just circled this individual because Article 25 speaks about one person. Then Article 26b upholds the right of each religious denomination or any section thereof to manage its own affair in matters of religion. Like there are so many minority schools which works autonomously, and which means where the government doesn't have any control, and they are not even coming under the purview of RT, that is right to education. So these groups because here the groups comes, these groups freedom is not subjected to other fundamental rights as Article 25. Then Article 29 defines the right to conserve distinctive culture, means if you are from distinctive culture, from distinctive religion or from different ethnicity, you have got a right under Article 29 of our constitution that you can conserve your distinctive culture or religious practices, anything. Then while the Uniform Civil Code, means was it discussed when the constitution was in making? So in the Constitution Assembly, the Fundamental Rights Subcommittee headed by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, this is a very much important question. So the Fundamental Rights Subcommittee headed by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel held that the provision of Uniform Civil Code was outside the scope of fundamental rights, and therefore the Uniform Civil Code was made less important than freedom of religion, and it was only included into the directive principle of state policy where the Supreme Court doesn't have any say. Then, because we have already discussed that if UCC doesn't come, so what will happen, means what next? Because this government, because this is in the agenda points of the government, that means they are going to bring something, whether the law commission report says yes or no, whatever it is. So if not, what the government should bring? So let's understand, if not Uniform Civil Code, then what? The codification of all personal laws. If I say codification of all personal law, it means process of collecting and restating the law of jurisdiction in a legal code. Means you bring all the personal laws one by one, keep it aside, and just as an example, take the Muslim personal law, write down every that jurisdiction and every law in it, restate it, and thereafter just make a compilation. Then bring this Christian one, bring the Persian one by one. Means the codification should be there of all personal laws. Thereafter take out all the discriminatory horrific practices of all of them one by one. Means while you are doing this codification, take out all horrific practices. I have already given you the example of this triple talaq, nikah halala, and there are so many. There was one more case of this Kerala bishop. There was one more case of the mother of the Arundhati Roy. So there are so many cases in this regard. So take out all the discriminatory horrific practices of all of them one by one, bring it to the light, means in front of the people, in front of the media, in front of the masses, and test it on the anvil of fundamental rights, that whether it stands true or not. Thereafter, by codification of different personal laws, means if you do so, if you target everything, means you keep Hindu laws also there, Muslim laws also there, Christian laws also there, means everything one by one. You cannot say that Hindu laws, because it is in the purview of the courts, but this personal law of Muslim, Christian and Persians law, means it cannot be put in front of the courts. Then you, after this codification, when it will be subjected to the testing at the anvil of the fundamental rights, universal principle will come forward, and which will ensure more equality. Thereafter, when this universal principle will come forward, this process will avoid the imposition of Uniform Civil Code, because you have already tested all the personal law, you have codified it, you have tested it on the anvil of fundamental rights. That means there is no need to put forward or to put ahead Uniform Civil Code, because this universal principles will work. And if you do not force it upon, then the matters like marriage and divorce can be settled without going to the court. So this was everything about the Universal Civil Code, whether the government is going to bring it, what the law commission has a say about it, and if it doesn't come, what is the alternative of it. I hope that I have cleared everything in this regard. I hope that you have liked this videos. Please like, share it, and if you have still not subscribed to the Royals Education, do subscribe it, and please hit the bell icon so that you should never miss a video if I upload it. Thank you. Have a nice day.